A show that tackles the big issues affecting the BVI and the rest of the Caribbean. Searches for answers to today's big questions and gives viewers a unique perspective on developing stories. Follow the big story with me, Kathy Richards, only on JTV. This show is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Ramney Tertola Pier Park, NV Salon Spa Nail and Barbershop, HOV Medical, and Digicel. Sign up for Digicel Plus Home Light Bundles, faster internet, movies, and sports. This is The Big Story. I'm Kathy Richards. I want to thank you so much for joining us for this edition. Smart School and Smart School and Smart School. Yes, we need to be pumping that in your ears so that you can be fully involved in this initiative, one that is really, really important as we advance in this day and age. And for us to have a great discussion about this, what's happening within the school sector and what governments and all other agencies are doing to make sure that schools are smarter. We have some key persons, key agencies who are integrally involved, and we're going to start off this morning with Crystal Kaniak-Abel of the Department of Disaster Management, and for the Ministry of Education and Culture we have Mr. Theodore John. Welcome to The Big Story.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Kathy, for having us.
Are we smart as schools are getting smarter?
That's the aim, we are to educate to become smarter.
Yeah, but many persons still are not fully aware as to what this is really all about. Perhaps their kids are involved in it at school and not necessarily sharing at home, really what it's all about. So we want to continue this education. I know we would have been here before to give a little synopsis of it, but we are way into it, and we need to understand more about it and where we're heading. So Crystal, first of all, tell us how this whole concept came into being and why.
Yeah, at its essence, Smart Schools is really all about taking your safety, your disaster preparedness, your day-to-day health and safety considerations, and then adding in sort of the climate smart resilience components, things like conserving your resources, being smart about the way you produce waste, and all those other things that we would consider green. So we say safe plus green equals smart.
Oh, safe plus green equals smart. That's a nice way to. I remember back in the days, in our school days, time we used to talk about safety at school, and all we thought about is not getting cut, not falling down the stairs, not hitting someone, and but safety has gone a whole lot further. And Mr. John, you in the school system, from levels of teacher up to principal, and now in the department, you understand the importance of this. So tell us the workings of the Ministry of Education in this aspect.
Definitely, the Ministry of Education is committed to work along with other government agencies, departments, units, and our private partners to ensure that schools are safe in terms of infrastructure. The health of students is paramount, and also to make sure that we're doing our green practices, which is utmost important.
Okay, so how the collaboration has been working? I know sometimes initiatives go out, okay, this is our initiative, we're going to go work with it, but it's so important that we collaborate, and this is what you guys have been doing. So explain to us how the collaboration has been working to ensure that we get to where we want to go.
Sure.
So it's funny because I know either one of us would say kind of the same thing, which is that, throughout the history from the establishment of safe schools, which is probably more than 20 years ago now, working on the Safe Schools policy, and then expanding that into the SMART program, doing the assessments, developing what the standards are going to be. At every step of the way, DDM is there saying, okay, here's what we would like to do, here's the hazards we need to consider, and here's what our profile is in this region and in this territory. And education is there looking over those same documents saying, here's what we can implement in our schools, here's how we know it's going to impact our educators and our students. So there's lots and lots of back and forth throughout the process.
Definitely, and there's great reception of the advice from DDM and other agencies to, improve our practices to make sure that in the event of an emergency or a disaster, as we saw in 2017 and even with COVID, that we're able to not just respond but recover and, become more resilient, and that's the whole thing about it.
And in this space, what we would see is the need for more capacity building.
Definitely.
How are we working with our various departments to make sure that they too are up to speed? So when you go to the schools to say X, Y, Z, your department is fully au fait as to what is being done.
Right. I think that's such an important element. As Theodore would have said, we learn lessons and we expand what we're capable of. We learn more, and so we have to do better. One thing that is on stream with this particular Resembid project is that we have the injection of funding that allows us to expand who the partners are. So I spoke a little bit about the history of smart and safe schools. That would have always been DDM and education. But now with this additional funding, we're able to bring in additional partners, and they're able to bring to bear a whole different set of expertise, right? So now we have additional training in conservation, thanks to the partnership with the college. We have additional training of the teachers and staff on the ground in terms of first aid training from Red Cross. And then we have a whole wealth of resilience and climate smart initiatives that's coming from our partners at Green VI.
Okay, and when you look at the big picture, at the end of this initial stage or this initial, we call it a pilot? Is it really a pilot?
Yeah, they're all iterations, aren't they?
Yeah. At the end of this, what it is that we envision happening?
I think we're going to have a stable of public schools which are much more resilient and prepared to respond to what we are recognizing more and more are the sort of increasing threats from climate change, right? What we see already is that the more intense storms, the more intense heat, basically the more intense impacts of climate change are already hitting us. They're hitting us hard, and we're more vulnerable as a small island community. So we really just have to bolster up our schools as much as we can. From here, I would love to see us expand this SMART concept into every single one of our schools.
So right now we're not working with all the schools.
For now, we have some target public schools.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You were saying.
So I think what would drive that push to become more resilient long term is our policies and establishing policies that surpasses current government. And when I'm gone, when Crystal is gone, we still have the documents to guide practicing moving forward. So I think we are now establishing a lot more policies that would help us to maintain what we've started already.
Awesome. And that is being coined to the level where it will be passing through the necessary government arms to make sure that, listen, this is Bible.
Yes, for sure.
Awesome. Theodore, I want to put you in a spot here right now because we should have had Red Cross here to speak as well. And I know that you're integrally involved with Red Cross. So I can take that liberty of asking, where do you see and how do you see the works of Red Cross tying into all of this? This was impromptu and I'm so sorry for that to ask.
With my experience with Red Cross in terms of disaster management and also in terms of first aid, I know we've done a lot of partnership with education over the years where we train our educators in terms of dealing with emergencies on school campuses, but also the essence of preparing for and responding to disasters at schools and even within the community as a part of the CERT program. Some have been trained before in community preparedness. So Red Cross does have that component of preparing our educators for different types of disasters.
Awesome. And this one just popped in my brain in all of this. Forgive my brain, it's just how it works. Have we ever considered training young kids
Yeah.
in disaster preparedness and first aid and all of that. Have we ever considered that?
Yeah, so as part of this project, we have Campus Cert, and that's really focused on the adults. But in the past, and what I hope to bring back this year is Teen Cert, right? So that's when you have your older students who are trained in basic first aid, they know how to respond in an emergency, and this really empowers the whole student community to say, yes, we're going to call 911 or whoever is the relevant, first responders, but in the meantime, we can be the first responders as well. We can meet the immediate needs.
Okay.
Yeah, what I love about this resume-based Smart Schools program project that we really empower the young people to, be agents of change. And I always teach my students, if you think that you're small enough or too small to make a difference, you've never spent a night in a room with a mosquito. So although they're young, they still have some impact on decision making and some contributions to make to allow us to become more resilient as a territory.
Okay.
So they have to be empowered and know that they can be agents of change.
Awesome. It's so beautiful to see when you have persons in their professional capacities and their education. Theodore is, but Theo has been there with Red Cross from and that spills over to what you do, how you interact with
Definitely.
the kids. When you watch the rollout of this program right now in the school, what it is that crosses your mind to say that, listen, we are going in the right direction?
I feel a sense of pride. I know that we've done a lot to prepare for where we are right now. There's a lot of background work that the public doesn't see, but is very crucial for establishing such projects. And I know the ultimate beneficiaries are going to be all children. And with their input and their involvement, we only can get better as a territory in terms of becoming more resilient to deal with those climate change effects with the major storms and different emergencies that come up. So I'm very proud of our territory and the different agencies that work together to make sure that we are doing good things.
Okay, before we move on to the next segment, because we have more others to talk with about this, before we move on, how do we work around ensuring that this information that we feed our kids, the practices that we try to get them to become familiar with, how does it spill over to the home setting, to the adult population that surround them?
Well, children really do become little experts, right? As a parent, I've seen this and I've experienced it firsthand. Whatever lessons are coming from the school, they come right home, and this is what we need to do at home, mommy, because teacher said X, Y, and Z. And when I interact with students going into the schools, I know that they are the experts because they tell me, well, I know that we have to recycle because we don't want to send too much trash to the incinerator. Or I know that climate change is real because this and that storm happened. And they're really internalizing and taking these on. They're growing up with these lessons about resilience. So we know that they're going to go and be multipliers in the community.
And one thing, Kathy, we also, built into our curriculum, concepts of resilience and preparedness for disasters and so forth. So the more they're exposed to it, it becomes almost second nature, routine that, we have to practice these things in order to, survive as a territory. So
It's just a part of their life.
it's just a part of their life, and the more we expose them to it through these projects and or general curriculum, we stand a better chance.
Okay, Crystal, how soon do we look forward to this being expanded to more schools?
Well, I can tell you I have an appointment at one of the local daycares this week.
Okay.
So we're working on it slowly. We don't want to say, oh, we're waiting till these schools are finished before we start coming out to the other schools. It does take a lot of time and effort to go and visit the school, to do the assessment. There's a safe assessment, there's the condition of the facilities assessment, and then there's the green assessment after all of that. And then what happens is there's a lot of back and forth. Here's what we advise so you can meet the standard. Well, here's what we are capable of doing. How close to the standard are we now? And, it can take some time, but we're moving on it from now.
All right. Okay. So we will move on. Thank you so so much, Crystal. Thank you so much. Now we're going to go to other stakeholders, more of DDM, and we also hear from the H. Lavity Stout Community College. This show is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Ramney Tertola Pier Park, NV Salon Spa Nail and Barbershop, HOV Medical, and Digicel. Sign up for Digicel Plus Home Light Bundles, faster internet, movies, and sports. All right, now we are joined by two other persons critically involved in this initiative, the Smart School Initiative, Nia Jahphix of the H. Lavity Stout Community College and Michelle Ambrose of the Department of Disaster Management, but your role is totally different from that of Crystal. Welcome to the set. How you ladies are doing today?
I'm good.
You good?
I'm doing
Awesome.
fine, yes.
You know, I just feel a little ning-yang when I see young people, you know, in key positions doing major things here in the Virgin Islands. So kudos to you. If someone haven't said it to you recently, you heard it here. All right, so help us to understand, Nia, your role and on the part of the college in this initiative.
So I work at the Center for Applied Marine Studies as the Coastal Resilience Program Coordinator.
Break that down. What does that mean?
It's
what
a bit,
do you do?
it's a bit of a mouthful, but basically my role at the Center for Applied Marine Studies, or CAMS as we like to call it, is to help to develop educational programming specifically geared to young persons in the community. So I lead a lot of outreach activities at the college, and have been doing so for quite some time before I actually stepped into this position.
Okay, she said quite some time before.
Yes.
As if this girl is way up there in age. No way. Tell us a little bit about those in the community activities that you've been engaged in, the age range of kids that you've been working with, and how does it tie in to the whole objective of a greener Virgin Islands?
So I said quite some time because I actually started working at the college as an intern about 4 years ago. So I was an intern at the Mangrove Nursery, and that kind of continued over the past three or four years, right? So since then, we've had a number of summer internships, which usually are geared towards high school age or college age students. And a lot of that has spilled over into the Resemble project, which we're now targeting primary school age, specifically grades 5 and 6, and grade 9 students at high school.
No.
So
awesome. Yeah. We come back to you again. But Michelle, how does it work for you? What are your key roles to play in this?
Well, as you know from my previous interview, I'm actually the person who's in charge. In less words, I'm the project manager for this project, and also working along with all of the different partners and ensuring that we meet the objectives of the goals.
Okay, so many of us don't remember what would have been said that last time. So give us a quick rundown as to what it is that you actually have to do to make sure that you keep that gel.
The very good things about this project is that it touches each one of the aspects of the resume, the donors who have been very kind to give us this grant to be able to help us to achieve or to enhance our Smart Schools initiative. Their objectives are it's in their name, to be resilient, to consider marine biodiversity and energy efficiency, and also the climate conditions. And so in tying in all of the different partners' input, HLSCC with their impact on the marine environment, ensuring that they inject more of that education into the schools. We have the Green VI who's considering those climate initiatives, and also we have us, and along with the Ministry of Education who's considering those resilient components.
Okay, and as you work along with the stakeholders managing the project throughout across board, what are some of the interesting things that you see coming up and you're like, oh yeah?
You know, I'm very happy to see this collaboration. It shows how even in our private lives, in our individual programs, we can come together, we can mesh, and we can make sure that we positively impact the students, impact our children, and that we know that once we put in these good things into them from this early stage, they grow up to be better people.
And yeah, a little bit more about now working with young children with this initiative. You started off, and I love that too. You started off as an intern. I'm in this career because I started off as an intern as well. You know, and you see the benefits. Now, you as a young person working with younger kids, what are the things that you find very interesting as you go along?
So honestly, to start, I realized that it's a lot of fun, right?
Okay.
I think, you know, having gone through the entire school system here, you know, I'm an HLCC alum as well. I think a lot of times we focus a lot on what traditional education looks like. And obviously, as a tertiary level institution for education, that is important. But this project has been helping us to meet some of our strategic goals as a college, which is to reach these students, you know, from K to 12 before they join our college community. And that's been so important. It's been really exciting to see how involved these students are, you know, how excited they are to participate in some of these activities and how much they remember. So a lot of these students I'm finding were actually some of our summer program kids who would say, Miss Nia, I remember you, do you remember me? You know, and I would throw out a word like pneumatophore or propagule and they would remember it. You know, and these kids are retaining that information. So I think it's just been really exciting to see how involved the community has been. We have solved approximately 1,000 young persons in the last 4 years each year, and the Resembled project has helped us to further that goal and to increase that number and to help us to strengthen those partnerships with the schools by actually getting in there. So I think that has just been really good to see.
Okay, the Mangrove Project is one, well, Mangrove Initiative, because it's several components
Correct,
of that,
correct.
that we hear a lot about. But are there other things other than the Mangrove Initiative that we deal with in the marine section when it comes to a greener VA?
So as part, well, for our part of the project, yes, we are focusing a lot on mangrove restoration as a means of building coastal resilience in our communities. But a lot of the other topics that we touch on, for example, include marine biodiversity, why it's important to protect our marine ecosystems, for example, and even getting them into the teaching labs, like basic lab apparatus and tool use, basic monitoring practices and things like that. A lot of these students have never actually stepped foot in a science lab. So it's actually showing them that we have scientists that are here. We have resources that are available to you. You know, if you have questions that need to be answered, we have the means to do that. I think a lot of times we are very focused on looking outside externally for those answers, and it's just been a really great way to show them that, you know, there are resources locally available to these young persons.
Okay, for you, Michelle, as we go along with the project and listening to what Nia would have said, and I know you would have been having your various meetings, your spot-on checks, are you seeing areas where there needs to be an expansion or inclusion of more components into the program?
You know, I see at this point where we're covering a lot of base, especially when we have the incorporation of everyone's individual programs. And they're coming with ideas. You know, we didn't consider this at the beginning, but now it's a good idea. Now we're thinking more as we input more. Now let's, you know, we're seeing the children being more involved. We think that they're not giving us the feedback that but they are giving us ideas. The children are very involved. And so when they bring ideas, we say, okay, we could consider that. Let's also incorporate that into the project. And we're doing our very best to consider all that.
Okay, and here for you, are there rooms for expansion in any area from what you're doing right now?
I would say yes. I mean, like I said, you know, the Resembled Smart Schools project has allowed us at CAMS to build on projects that we were already working on. And now that we've formed these relationships with the schools, I know that I already have principals asking me, okay, so what's next? You know, so I definitely can see, especially in my role as the Coastal Resilience Program Coordinator, I can definitely start to envision what some of these future programs can look like. So I'm very excited to kind of get started in.
What the composition of your team look like?
As
More young
of
people like yourself.
so as of right now, so I report to Ms. Susan Zaleski, who's the department head.
Okay.
So I'm the only one, I guess, in my current section. However, as it relates to the Mangrove Nursery team and the Coastal Resilience Lab, we do have a team of interns at any given point in time who are on staff, ready to assist with activities, who help to take care of the nursery, to help with cultivating the seedlings and things like that. So we do have a team of interns, and I think this is the perfect opportunity to actually mention that we are advertising currently for more Mangrove Nursery staff.
Oh,
so
wow.
if there are any young people who are interested, we are currently advertising for that position.
Ooh, what's that great need? What was that great need? Was it as a result of what happened to our coastal lines at Hurricanes Irma and Maria?
Yes, that's correct. So after Hurricanes Irma and Maria, we realized that we had lost about 90% of our mature mangrove habitat. So Mangrove Nursery was created on Joost Van Dyke with the JVDPS, and a secondary nursery was created at the college. So since then, we have been using those seedlings that are being produced by the college's Mangrove Nursery to help to kind of assist with that restoration effort, which is a territory-wide restoration effort.
Okay. Sometimes at first for me, I'm gonna be plain out honest. When I see the mangrove initiative, boring. Do you get that?
I think at first, yes, but I will say we have a very high success rate. We often ask students, would you come back? And the answer is usually yes.
Yes.
It might seem boring at first because people think that they're just plants, but if you ever got the opportunity to visit Hans Creek, for example, it is a beautiful habitat. Every time we're there, we see turtles, shark, fish. These are very important, vibrant ecosystems, and they're teeming with life. So
And the beauty about it is when you get your hands dirty in there and
Correct.
start to dabble with it, you feel it.
Correct,
And you understand
yes.
the life and the importance of it. And see them baby turtles.
One of the things I can add to this is and seeing the children interact. They're very interested. This project has helped them to be more interested in this field or in any of the other fields that your other partners are involved in. Having them interested at this point, at this young stage, like Nia said, we won't need to look outside. Our children are interested in it now, whether it's this field, the marine biodiversity field, or it could be the training or the Red Cross or helping people. They're interested now, and they can start looking at their careers later on from this impact.
All right, so if you're still studying to know what area you can look at, what you need to do in the future, check out Nia. All right, Nia, Michelle, thank you so much for sharing great information. Thank you for what you're doing. It's making a major impact in our community and in the world at large, where we are doing our little bit to save Mother Earth. So we have another segment, yes, to hear what Green VI is doing. They are doing a lot. This show is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Ramney Tertola Pier Park, NV Salon Spa Nail and Barbershop, HOV Medical, and Digicel. Sign up for Digicel Plus Home Light Bundles, faster internet, movies, and sports. All right, we're now with the Green VI, two energetic young women, I will say young women. First of all, thank you so much for stopping by to share with us what Green VI is doing as part of this project. I know Green VI is all about smart, everything smart. First though, can you introduce yourselves?
Okay, my name is Mavis Small-Abednego, and I am the curriculum coordinator.
The curriculum coordinator, and you are?
Hi, I'm Natasha Harrigan, and I am a senior project manager with Green VA.
All right, not so long ago, I had the privilege, and I count it an honor as well, to be up at one of the schools where this initiative is ongoing, and Green VI was on the spot with a community-minded person who did, I think it was the the energy assessment. I think it was a study on the energy, and in turn, he made a donation to the school of some solar lights and stuff. So I have a little peek into the whole initiative of what is happening at some of the schools. But can you give us a very good overall of what really Green VI is doing as part of this initiative?
Okay, so in Green VI, our portion of the Smart Schools initiative is that we are doing classroom engagements with the students, and the aim of the classroom engagements is to build resilience and to promote sustainability in our communities. And to that end, we have outreach officers that go into the schools and they conduct sessions which focus on our 5 themes. And the themes that we are focusing on are recycling, water, renewable energy, mosquito reduction, and the garden.
Okay, so how do we do it? What are the strategies used to make sure that we get this objective achieved?
So for the most part, our outreach officers have gone into the classrooms, and what they're doing is they are looking at the themes and objectives that are being taught in classes, and then we are creating activities that both link the curriculum objectives with our themes. And they're games, activities, presentations, all of those sorts of things.
With what you do, how do you work along?
Okay, so I'm going to speak a little bit more about the garden program.
Oh,
because
that's
that is
your
what,
baby.
yes,
Okay.
that is what I'm mainly responsible for.
Okay.
So there's actually 2 aspects to the garden program. Structurally, we're putting in several different structures to ensure that the garden are seen as classrooms for the kids, and to ensure that their longevity, the lifespan of them continue even after the span of the project. And then the second aspect is the outreach aspect, where we teach the kids how to grow their own food, and it's very practical for them. So in both aspects, I'm mainly responsible for those and overseeing the execution of those. And so far, it's been really great in terms of seeing the kids have a space where they could have an outdoor classroom and be able to have those interactive sessions outdoor and learn.
So you're telling me I could go and do mathematics in the garden?
Yes, you definitely can.
How do I do mathematics in the garden?
this-
We're growing food.
The space is not only limited to us and our outreach that we're doing, but also for the teachers. We thought about the teachers when putting in these structures as well. Most of them consist of like shapes, squares, circles, rectangles, and how the teachers would be able to utilize those during their lessons.
Okay, and if you were to add another component to that space, what would it be?
Right now, I would say all of the components of the space were given so much thought that I would not add any other component at all.
It's very universal.
Yes.
Especially with the gardening aspect of it, I know that space might be a challenge at some schools, so farming areas are not so big.
Yes.
How do we become very effective in those very little spaces that they have to work in?
Kathy, I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because that was one of my biggest challenges with visiting the schools and deciding how we're going to go about and develop the spaces. We do still want to incorporate all of the structures that we had in mind, from like water tanks and irrigation to even like a seating area in all of the gardens. So it was just looking at the spaces and seeing what could fit inside, and then working along with the awesome principals and staff to see the other areas that we could utilize to make it a component of the garden as well.
And there's also a water initiative. You could tell us a little bit about that, any of you? A
Yes.
little bit about this water system that I know that you guys have been working on to make a part of the school system.
Yes, so the water aspect, it has 2 components. First of all, a lot of the schools do not have safe drinking water, or they don't have a consistent amount of drinking water. So one of the things that we looked at was how we could supply the schools with safe drinking water and have it consistent, and try to reduce the amount of the plastic bottles that they utilize. Those are not like the best option for drinking water. So we've looked at that, doing water audits so that we could see, okay, how much water is the school utilizing and what are some of the options that we could offer to these schools to ensure that they have safe drinking water. The second aspect was looking at how we could incorporate water into the garden as well. So whereas there was a limited amount of water catchment happening in the cisterns, we've incorporated water tanks where there's up to 800 and 1,000 gallons worth of water that can be captured at the schools by utilizing the rainwater that they usually capture on the buildings.
Okay. I know that you have been, overlooking and seeing what's going on the space, especially with this garden. I like it because it's local food we're talking about. What do you think is going to be the outcome in a very near future?
Well, we're already seeing outcomes because what we're seeing is that students are going home and they are sharing the lessons that are learned. They are going home and planting, learning about planting themselves. And we even saw it in the science fair where students were able to do projects that were related to some of the topics that we had been discussing with them. So we are already seeing results, and what we imagine is that those will grow exponentially. Natasha spoke about the water, for example. One of the initiatives that we are doing on the smart schools is that we are going to be providing the schools with air to water generators. So these are machines that actually pull the humidity out of the air and convert that into liquid water. It's purified, and we have machines already in some schools. It's very good tasting, but what it does is it discourages the use of single-use water bottles, which, as we know, has been proven to be bad for the environment as well as our health. And so with initiatives like that, with teaching children about the importance of reducing the amount of waste that we put into the waste stream, those results, we're already starting to see differences. And then towards the end of the program, what we plan to do is to have another waste audit. We already had a waste audit at the beginning of the program, and we're going to be conducting one at the end of the program. And at the end of the program, we're going to be able to measure and have data to show if any differences have occurred.
I'm particularly interested about this water system where you pull the humidity out of the air and convert it. When it comes to volume, how much you can get so that, that would cause me to put away my big bottles and just, utilize the system.
Well, right now the machines are pretty small, but the technology is proven, and bigger machines with bigger capacity are available. Okay. So it is sort of like a testing ground. We're going to add them, we're going to see how that works for schools, and if we need to add more water systems, then through funding and through hard work, we'll try to do that as well.
Okay, we need to see a demonstration of that one,
Well, you can come to the Eco Park, and you can test out. We have a machine there, and also Francis Lettsome Primary School also has 2 machines there, and they are working every day. The children are enjoying them, and they are bringing their refillable water bottles to school and getting clean water.
Okay, earlier I had asked Crystal and Mr. John about parents' receptiveness to this. You being on the ground there dealing with kids, and I guess once you're dealing with kids, you're dealing with teachers and the parents as well. How has the receptiveness been?
Well, I'd like to speak about the teachers because we interact with the teachers a lot. One component of the Smart Schools program is the curriculum-linked activities. So we have received the curriculum from the education department, and what we've done is we've looked at the objectives, and we've found ways to marry the objectives in science, in math, in social studies with environmentally conscious behaviors. So when we go to the teachers, I went to Anagata on Monday, and when we go to the teachers and we explain this and we show them some of these plans, they're really excited because what they see is that the curriculum and the syllabus objectives are being met in real world applications. So if you want to teach a child about the volume and capacity, well, you can do that by talking about the volume and capacity in these recyclable containers, which we will then crush and, you know, make into other objects. So those are the kinds of ways that they're seeing the practical applications.
Awesome, and I'm happy you mentioned Anegada. If you could tell me a little bit about how you're working on all the islands, if all islands, I know, mentioned Anegada, I mean, you're working on Anegada, Tortola, or is this program on Virgin Gorda and Yes Van Dyke as well?
So on Anegada, we currently have an outreach officer who is actually full-time. So she spends a lot of time between Anegada as well as Tortola to be able to interact with the students and educate them on a lot of the themes that our part of the project is focused on. So she's been working with the students over there to ensure that the 5 components like the We Recycle program, about even the importance of gardening, as much as we haven't been able to fully develop the garden as yet. She's prepping them. Yes. She's very much prepping them in terms of the education aspect of it. In terms of Just Van Dyke, we've had the benefit of having the students at Leonora Delville and fully engaged into the program, the outreach aspect of the program, from the safe water drinking to even down to the garden. We've had the students engaged in that way. I was actually happy to see that the school got back there. Well, they got back to school and it's finished now. So we will be approaching them quite soon. It was a little bit delayed just because of that project, the development, and definitely Virgin Gorda, we're very much present there. We also have a full-time outreach officer on Virgin Gorda as well.
And you have a whole branch of Green VI over there.
Yes, we do.
Awesome. Well, this is great to know that this program is going with such a beautiful way. Opportunities like this gets people more interested and get more curious. You know, obviously we fast. Yeah, we want you to become fast. Learn more that you can about the SMART initiative. We want to thank the government and the various arms that are key in this initiative, the Smart School Initiative. You've heard it here. It's all over the place, so make sure that you become more and more involved and educated so we can move on in this new sphere that we're living in, where we have to pay so much attention to how we care for Mother Earth so that our great-grandchildren and grand-grandchildren can have a very beautiful life here on Earth. I want to thank you so much, ladies. I want to thank our guests who appear earlier on the set for coming aboard and sharing so much. It's always a good opportunity to learn. Just listen, learn, and then you put your hands in. Remember that what we call it, I already forgot it. The HLSCC, with what I said, it was boring at first. The mangrove initiative, mangroves are not boring. Activities surrounding mangroves are not boring. I said so. Thank you so much for joining us for this edition of The Big Story. I'm Kathy Richards.
We know that where you choose to bank matters, and it is your vote on what your funds do in strengthening our community. As your official Bank of Paradise, we invest and support the lifeblood of our economy by helping in the realization of personal goals for homeownership, education, and entrepreneurial visions, which support small businesses. We make it our place to connect with persons and worthy causes, and we have been doing so for more than 30 years. Where your money goes and what your dollars empower are your choice. And we thank you for choosing us, a bank that gives where it matters the most, for you, for our community, and a happier tomorrow. The National Bank of the Virgin Islands.